Hey folks, welcome to today's show. I'm Matt Horwitz,
I'm Scott Brills.
and today we have a special guest. Scott, intro our guest.
Our guest today is the fabulous, one-of-a-kind Rob Hanley. He is a multi-talented web entrepreneur who has been doing quite a few things in the past, is now focusing on fitness and nutrition. Rob, take it away.
Yeah, hey guys. So for those of you who don't really know me, my background was originally in doing consulting. I used to do a lot of marketing stuff, online, offline, after a bit of history in the media industry as well. And before I did that, I was also involved with ADHD and learning. So that's sort of like my little background in a nutshell.
Yeah, man. Scott sent me your bio prior to our show, and I'm sure we're only scratching the surface. But do you classify yourself as a multi-passionate person, or you have a wide array of not only interests and hobbies but talents as well?
Look, I mean, without stroking my own ego, probably a little bit. Look, the fact is, man, really obsessive person. So I get interested in something for a couple of months, obsess over it the entire time. I read everything, I watch everything, I do everything I possibly can. And then I kind of like put on this like back burner shelf where it keeps on chugging along, and I move on to the next one.
Yeah, let's flesh this out a little bit, because I think this is a pretty interesting topic to open things out. I talk often about self-directed education and practical education. So it sounds like I think a lot of people who are aware of that element are also kind of obsessive, or like to go down the rabbit hole a little bit with their information. So for those who are out there who aren't doing this stuff, when you say read everything, watch everything, like give us some details. What's an example that either with
Pick a subject, maybe even like your latest subject as far as fitness and nutrition, or maybe your old projects like ADHD.
Yeah, I mean, look, let's go for ADHD, because that one I feel like is the most multifaceted, man. It all started off, I was 16, couldn't concentrate, realized that in Australia we have what's called the HSC. It's our final exams, and they run in year 12, so when you're 17, 18. And basically, about a year and a half before them, I was like, man, I've spent the last 10 and a half years dicking around the back of the class, just drawing, constantly sketch pads, all that shit. And I was like, man, if this is going to be my last year and a half, I need to pull my finger out, and I need to sort it out. So I went and spoke to the counselor, and I was like, hey, look, having trouble concentrating. What can we do? And that started what ended up being like over the next 6 months, there was like a diagnosis of ADHD, seeing doctors, educational consultants, brain scans, trying medication, all that. And
wait, did you jump into these studies yourself, or had you already been diagnosed with ADHD?
No, that's how you get diagnosed, basically. So in Australia, what happens is before you can get a brain scan or anything like that from an actual psych, you have to get like referred to them by someone else, and you have to get referred to them by someone else. It's like a real ongoing
So
process.
Did you tell your parents, like, I want to get this done, or did they?
Yeah, man. I was like, dude, realistically, I'm one of those people, if I have something I want to solve, like I like to refer to it as like the grey toilet water theory. So when you've got a bathroom toilet, right, if it doesn't flush properly, you kind of go like, yeah, whatever. But when it starts to back up, and if you flush it again, so shit's going to go everywhere. I find most of my problems seem to sit around, that top part, and you just can't afford to muck around. Like, you got to solve it. So yeah, I told my parents, and they were really good about it, man. I said to them, this is where I'm at, this is why I'm doing it, this is what's up. And yeah, mum came along to all the appointments with me, sorted me out, got me moving. And then a year and a half later, when I said to them, hey, I don't want to stay on medication, and then proceeded to have 3 car crashes every time I tried to go off it, they were still really good about it. So yeah, it was interesting, man. Like I don't know what it's like over where you guys are, but in Sydney, ADHD, or in Australia, ADHD is prevalent, and it seems to flirt on that line between some people are diagnosed because they genuinely have it, and other people are diagnosed because they just don't know any other way to be. Like they haven't got the behavior side down pat.
Yeah. So after all these scans, go ahead, Scott.
I was just to say it's about the same thing over here. I grew up with a bunch of people with ADHD, and some were diagnosed wrongly, some were never diagnosed, and it sounds like it's probably more of a Western culture type thing.
Yeah.
So what did you do after all these studies? Going back to what did you do to learn more about this on your own and take action to solving the problem?
Yeah, so a huge part of it was, instead of looking at it as, hey, you've got ADHD, which means X, it just didn't occur to me to look at it that way. I kind of went, all right, well, I want to concentrate more. I want to have better focus, better memory, all the things that I guess ADHD affects negatively, I was like, I want to actually have the good side of that. So I ended up we've got a bookstore in Sydney called Kinnicunya, and we used to have the Borders chain here as well. So I went to both those stores and picked up books on like body language. I picked up books on like health, nutrition, the brain performance, memorization. And that was probably like year 12, so my last year. I was on top of that, I just got tutors. I got people to help me learn. The year after that, after I left school, kept on reading, and I got a job in face-to-face marketing for charities, which helped me develop better social communication, better body language reading, better verbal communication. And to be honest, that one went on for like that first course, like that foundation where I could happily be without meds, no problems, took about 2.5 years. And then when I was 20, I actually started working with other kids who were like 14, 16 kind of area, who had ADHD as well, and said like, hey, here's what I've learned, here's what works for me. Now you try it.
So you were like, you just jumped right in and pretty much started doing real world coaching, teaching, consulting, whatever you call it. You just started to help people solve their problem for free, I guess?
Originally, I worked with one kid for free, and then I actually started getting paid for it. And it was mainly, and what I found was, the key differentiator was not that I had ADHD and had all this magic knowledge as well. Like, anyone could have told you half this stuff. It's just, you need to learn it on your own. It was the fact that I could sit down with a 14-year-old kid who hates his parents, hates having to go to a doctor, and feels really bad about ADHD, and turn to him and go, look, man, I'm 6 years older than you. I was where you were not that long ago. Let's just do this. Like, let's just cut the shit and let's get on with it. And the 14-year-old kid goes, yeah, all right, well, you're not treating me like a child. You're treating me like an actual individual who wants to sort it out.
Yeah. Interesting.
Okay.
I got it.
And what was that?
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, man, there's some interesting kids, but what were you going to say?
I got a 2-part question. Tell us real quick, because people who, if you can sort of rattle off or share with us some other things where you've kind of gone deep and read lots of books in the bookstore, sought out real world mentors or just regular people with information, picking their brains and stuff. And then tell us also that you then turned this, this information and experience that you had, you turn this into a mini business of sorts, right?
Yeah. So, I guess, it's 2 parts. So I'll go from the back to the front. So in this education is what I called it, ADDUCATION. I worked with that, and basically I ended up obsessing about it. After I started coaching, I ended up getting up to the point where I had about 40 families on each week, and kids mainly, obviously, but worked with some parents. Worked with my oldest client was in his late 50s. Youngest client was 12. I think it was about 12, maybe a little older, a little younger. It was a while ago. And then beyond that, it was speaking at conferences. So I got help from like other people who spoke at educational conferences, did keynotes, the whole kit and caboodle. So that was that one. In terms of things that otherwise obsessed with, it was strange, but off the back of this, because it showed me that being obsessive could be really, really good. I ended up doing it with actually dating was a huge one, and business and marketing. Those were the two big things where they kind of flowed on naturally. So dating was the fact that I obsessed on social communication, body language. Then started to see, all right, like I've got a good idea of this. And at the same time, had a girlfriend and I broke up. Suddenly became single for the first time over the age of 18. Because in 18, obviously you start drinking, you go out in Australia. I was like, I have no idea what to actually do. But then I realized like I could get really obsessive and learn about this as well. So bang, drop that one.
You have to transfer the energy to something else.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Have you guys noticed that most guys in the personal development, entrepreneurial lifestyle space, if you mention dating, pickup, everyone out there is stuff. But I think it's funny, but for those who are listening that I think this has a negative connotation, what it comes down to is like, I think it's simple. It's what everybody wants. Girls want to meet guys. Guys want to meet girls. Homosexuals want to meet homosexuals. It's basic psychology, communication, body language, and I think it's effective to learn these things so we can, But anyway, it's just funny. It's these threads. It's good
as a self-development tool too. It's not just about meeting other people. Like in the process of learning how to meet other people, you learn about yourself and you build up qualities that make you attractive to other people. It also makes you attractive as an individual.
Definitely.
Yeah. I think the one thing that always blows me away, right, is like it's always seen as being really underhanded and really like sneaky and just stuff like that. And the response you get to it, I was speaking to a friend of mine, John McIntyre, recently, And he was saying about how one of the websites he runs a business. The goal of a business is to make money, to be profitable so that you have enough money to keep providing the value, the service. Like that's, in a nutshell, if you can't provide the value, you're not going to get money and everything else stinks. And he was saying he was really amazed. Like there are some people like, I can't believe you're trying to sell me things. And at the same time, it's like, this is a business. Businesses sell things. And if you're a normal person, you, as you said, you want to meet people. It's a problem. You solve the problem. And people get so stunned that you go, hey, I'm having a problem. I've got a challenge where I can't get my head around this situation. I can't figure out how to talk to people without, keys jingling in my pocket. Why wouldn't I go and solve the problem? It just makes sense.
Yeah, no, it definitely, it makes sense. It's funny too, people that are studying, dating and all this stuff. I think it's people who are interested in becoming better communicators, and I think who are better at becoming more effective in the world. Like, we want to use ourselves as a vehicle. I use the analogy, like, if you came into life and you got one car, first off, and you could pick, like, do you want the Chevy? Do you want the, do you want the Mazda, or would you like the Maserati and Ferrari? So first off, those who are intelligent just pick the nice car. And then on top of that, you got to keep it tuned and maintenance, and then you tweak it and you soup it up. And I just think that's a great analogy. You do that in all different aspects so that you can kind of maneuver through the world in a better sense. So I guess then one of the other questions I wanted to talk about was validating business ideas. And I'm guessing with the ADHD, you had already validated it because you were working with people like in the real world. You offered to help a kid and it worked. And then from that, it led to maybe helping somebody else. But what do you do with testing business ideas? And have you tested other, I know now you're also working in the fitness space, and you used to be a pretty skinny guy, as you put it, and you've been able to, to add on a kilo a week and stuff like that. I've been able to do bodyweight exercises. How do you test these ideas that you have to make sure that they're worth your time?
Yeah, look, I mean, part of it's twofold. Is I'm in a position now where I can afford to, I guess, say, have the luxury of testing things that might not be useful to other people. But I think off the back, man, of all this other stuff we talked about, dating, etc., is you get to understand other people's problems. You get to hear their pains. You get that empathy side, and it comes built in. So we recently built a Bodyweight workout generator. All it does is bodyweight workouts.
Dude, I looked at one of these. You guys, we'll link this website up below. But Scott sent me the link, and I typed it in, and I looked at the workout real quick, and I have a background in exercise, nutrition, and stuff. And I was like, it's a pretty damn good workout. I was like, I'll do this next week. Yeah, look good.
I remember it. Fuck that later.
But no. Tell us more about this, and going with what you're saying.
Basically, the idea came up 2.5 weeks ago, man. 3.5 weeks ago now. But came up over breakfast and dinner with a mate. Had a chat. It was great, and left it for a week. Ended up going up. This friend of mine lives up in Pai, so drove up. It's an hour and a half, 2 hours on a motorbike. In good weather, it's 4.5 hours when it's storming on you on the mountain on the way back. But drove up there, had a chat with him, and I got back the next week. Sat down with my wife Laura and said, "Hey, let's do this. Let's give it a crack." And 7 days later, it was designed, developed, had everything in there, and we started sending the link out to people. What do you reckon? Worst case scenario, I've built a tool that I'll use when I don't have access to a gym. Best case scenario, the 20 odd people who I send the link out to go, that's awesome. I would definitely use that. And then, because obviously we're working in health and fitness, there's a couple of quadrants like, happy, healthy, sexy, wealthy. It's what everyone wants in one way or another. So we already knew it fit in that area, or, two parts of it.
Yeah.
Why not just see if people really want it? So that's part one, basically solving a problem I've got. And the other thing I basically do is make sure people will pay money for it. Wherever possible, I will develop the least amount of product, I guess you would say, possible, to see if someone will pay for something. That's it.
Yeah, Scott, you often say the MVP.
I was just about to say that. Yep.
Yeah, man. So I did some online learning stuff as well, some like online education courses. And a friend of mine was like, "You should build the whole thing and then market it." And I'd made that mistake once before. It was a big mistake.
You mean building the whole entire thing? Rather, you're doing them, getting Scott. Talk about MVP for a bit for those who don't know.
I was just mentioning, I mean, MVP, minimal viable product. So is get enough built up so that you can at least start selling it and see how it does, and then from there you can go on and say, okay, hey, there's a market for this, which hopefully you could actually find out ahead of time, if there's a bunch of other competitors, so you can go in there and be like, okay, well, there's people selling this already. They're making money. I can do it too, and then do something similar. But if you're in a field that you're not able to get that information ahead of time, you can do an MVP, get the minimal parts. So let's say you're doing a 3-part course. You don't go ahead and develop all 3 parts, but you do part 1. You see what the sales are. From there, you do part 3 once people buy it.
Definitely.
That's it. In a nutshell, and that was the mistake I made. I made the 3-part course up front at a time, built out everything, made the most beautiful delivery system. The back end was gorgeous, and then like one person bought it. It was pretty upsetting.
So do you are you a coder? Are you doing custom back end solutions, or are you using
Yeah. I left this part out of my bio. I was actually trained as a graphic designer in when I was 18 through to 21. I did graphic design, visual communications.
So you like HTML and CSS. You've known this for more than a decade, more or less.
Photoshop. Yeah.
Just under. Yeah, don't make me feel so old, man. I found some great hairs in my beard yesterday. I was like really excited, but it's just strange. Everyone keeps reminding me how old I am all of a sudden.
I don't know your age, so don't tell me, man. You look young.
Photoshop 4.0. What?
What? Photoshop 8 when I was like old? What? No, it's amazing, man. The age thing is I've never really considered that, never really thought about it, never cared for it. And I've always been really excited to get older. And it was incredible, man. Yesterday morning, I was like, sweet, I got a patch of gray hair in my beard. This is awesome. Then a friend of mine was like, hey, we've known each other for over a decade. Something else happened. Now you're talking to me about knowing HTML and CSS for the better part of a decade. Like, are you guys all trying to tell me something? Wrinkles on my face? What's happened?
Yeah, aging is a crazy thing. As time goes on, time just seems to be going faster and faster, as they say. It's I think it's like cliches. I often like make fun of people who make fun of cliches because I'm like, no, you need to recognize that cliches are a really solid piece of advice that everyone talks about and no one follows, or something that's true and everyone talks about and doesn't recognize the value. So these funny things, follow your passion. Like, this has been talked about for thousands of years, but then how many people, once they realize it, it's like, duh, I get it. You follow your passion. Yeah. It sets you off on a path of massive personal growth, studying all these kinds of things, becoming really creative, understanding the concept of MVPs and all this stuff. So anyway, tying that loop back, so you basically did a minimum viable product. You put together, you designed, you got something put together. And this doesn't need to be fancy. I mean, somebody else out there could do this for cheap, and even you don't even need money. If you have the skills, you can do this yourself. But you put together, like a quick version, a couple workouts. You sent this out to some people. You just wanted to get some feedback, and you got some positive feedback, first of all. You already studied the marketplace. You know that people want to be fit, people want to be sexy, and from your business background, you put these together, and then you say, okay, this is something that we can now invest further in, and let's grow and scale this up. I think there's a lot of importance in this with people. Like, it's just the most practical way to start a business is just these little quick tests. So very interesting stuff.
The big takeaway as well, man, is like there's nothing better than solving a problem the moment you've got it or around. So I did Tough Mudder in September last year in Australia, and leading up to that, I created from scratch a workout plan, bodyweight workout for me and my team. And it was a 6-day workout program. It wasn't hard, but it was time consuming. I had to sit there and I had to build it and send it and all that crap. But if I'd had this to do, I could have just gone, yep, that, print, done, finished. And so I'd known that there was that problem. And, after Tough Mudder as well, man, before I started doing training, the other thing I was thinking about was, okay, can I do this in bodyweight? Looked for guides, and all the guides, it's that really long sales page, and it's $47, and then, the price isn't really an issue. It's just that you never know what you're actually going to get. And it ends up being 1 5-page PDF. And you're like, man, I could have written that myself in the amount of time it took me to read the goddamn sales page. I could have written that. So I wanted something that would be obviously a lot more fun to use. And the other side is that it's the behavioral economics. If it's easy to use, if it's fun to use, if it looks good, you're going to use it. So why not do that? So that's basically how we built that MVP in 7 days.
Nice.
7 days, wow.
This tough.
Look, man, honestly, I cheated. I built it on top of WordPress. I know WordPress, so I just cut it around that.
Don't tell everyone our secret, man.
So by WordPress, I meant some really obscure framework that you guys have never heard of.
Yeah, you programmed it in assembly code.
Yep, that's it. I mean, we're talking I was using an electrical plate with zeros and ones, just tapping it out.
I can tell, Rob, that you're a guy that's been working at this for some time. I don't think you've always been like this, but tell me if you have. You seem to be able to crank out work pretty consistently. Like, we're talking to you now. Are you an early riser? What's your routine like, and how have you developed what kind of, not tricks, because I don't think there's these necessarily shortcuts. I really just think it's a lot of work over time, moving towards something you're interested in. But what are some things productivity-wise that have been helpful for you to be able to, crank out so much, what would be perceived as so much work?
Okay, good question. I think it's sort of twofold, man. Is the one thing I often have used is like a morning routine and an end of day routine. So the morning routine, it's pretty long. I can dig up a copy
that you've had used or that you've had confused. Sorry, I didn't hear you.
No, that I've used. No, that I use. And basically, what it was twofold. There's like the health and fitness side of it, or the normal personal life, which is like get up in the morning, do stretches, drink water, little bits of, and then when I was doing a lot of consulting, because my days were super jam-packed, I found that I'd really get lost throughout the day and get obsessive on something stupid or whatever. So what I created was like a daily business routine as well. So that was wake up in the morning. What are my tasks after I've done all my personal stuff? What emails do I have to send before I even get in the inbox? How do I process my emails? What documents do I read? During myself, like the mindset that I want to operate from, all stuff like that. And it was basically going, I can either waste the bandwidth on trying to remember these throughout the day, or I can just put it in front of myself first thing of the day and read it. And I did it because I think, like, the way I look at it is, there's almost a myth, right, that the top performers just have this shit going on. That it's just natural. It's like they wake up, they breathe, and things just happen. And for a long time, man, I bought into that every single day. And I was like, I feel like a loser using these systems and techniques. And I don't know when it was, and realistically, it was probably around the time that I read Atlas Shrugged. And I went, okay, well, that's what works for them, that's fine. But for me to do what I need to be able to do, this is like my on-ramp. This is how I get started. This is the 10 things I need to do in the morning to ensure that everything else works. And I would be an idiot if I let my ego got in the way and said, other people don't have to do it. No point. So yeah, started doing that. Morning routine was huge. And the other thing probably is I listen to a lot of music. And that seems to make a huge difference, man. I put in earphones, I put on the same songs on repeat for hours on end, nice. And then just get to work. Definitely.
Is this instrumental stuff, or can you listen to lyrics as well? And
Yeah. I'm a big believer in patterns. I think everything has a pattern. So as long as I can predict the pattern in the audio, it doesn't matter.
I know I personally use an old Paul Oakenfold CD. I used to listen to a lot of trance. I don't anymore, but I find that I know it so well, and it's very rhythmic and very melodic that it kind of like calms me and it sets me into a trance where I can really concentrate, work really well.
Yeah, that's it. I look at it, I think part of it is the just the music's nice to listen to, but when you can predict all the mental stimulation you're going to get from audio and you're controlling that stimulation, and then like you've just cut out an entire massively distracting sense, and because you're looking at the screen, well, there's no visual distraction and so on, like hugely important.
I've also heard that some people listen to white noise, and there's even a link I found lately that projects coffee house like random noise. Just people like ordering stuff.
What is coffee house?
Like a coffee shop, like a Starbucks music? Or something like that. Not even music. No, it's actually the ambient noise of people like at a coffee shop walking around ordering stuff. Yeah, because so many people are used to being at a coffee shop and working. I'm not really. That
I put earplugs in when I work in public.
Yeah, right.
That's it.
You'd block it out, but like some people, they actually spend so much time there that they're used to it, and so like if they're stuck at home sick or the weather's bad or whatnot, this actually helps them concentrate. It's like projecting the image of a coffee shop orally into their ears.
Interesting. You know what? I want to ask both of you guys a question because I really don't listen to very much music at all, just out of choice. It doesn't. From time to time, I'll like look something up on YouTube. I'll type in like music for concentration, but that's like once in a blue moon. I'll listen to some like Eastern kind of yoga type music when I cook. But what are some like tell me a Pandora station or like a YouTube video, or what's something that you guys can recommend for me? I need some of this kind of music.
Man, I'd direct you lately. I've been absolutely cranking an Australian artist called Flume, Flume, and he does like
Flume.
Yeah, FLUME. Awesome, man. Like I picked up on Groove Shark, has heaps of his tracks. I'm not using Spotify at the moment, but grooveshark.com has a stack of his tracks. Absolutely awesome. And I think he just dropped an album. And the other guy who I've been listening to a lot lately is a guy called Watsky, Watsky. He's like a spoken word beat poet / rapper from the US. And just a couple of his tracks on repeat as well are phenomenal.
What about you, Scott? Good stuff, man.
Like I said, I've got some old favorites, like some Paul Oakenfold type stuff that just, each one's an hour and a half long, and you just kind of put that on. I found I love music. I listen to it all the time, and I've got a huge library of music that I can pick from. But unless I have something familiar and I don't have to okay, the song ended, I got to pick another song. That's horrible for productivity. If you have to keep picking the songs, you're done for. And so I used to use Pandora a lot. I learned a lot of new artists on that, and I was able to concentrate pretty well. The newest service that I've been using, I was turned on to just a while ago, is called Songza, Songza. And you can actually pick based on your mood and your location, what you want to listen to. And it's kind of like, hey, it's a Tuesday night. Do you want music to make love to? Do you want music to party to? And you just go through it. It gives you kind of like a flow chart. You're like, okay, I want this for this location for this time, and it'll just play music. And it's
that sounds incredible.
This is interesting. What was that guy Paul W? What's his last name?
Paul Oakenfold.
Paul Oakenfold. What did I say? W.
Classic trance DJ. Paul Oakenfold and Sasha, they did a few collaborations, and I just remember that back late 90s, early 2000s when I used to listen to trance a lot, and somehow it I don't know, it just kind of gets me in the mood. I don't have to think about it. There's no real lyrics. It's just boom, 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 boom. It kind of it puts your mind into a trance.
Yeah, it gives you a pace almost.
You don't, because if the music has lyrics, you're gonna listen to them, and it kind of distracts you. If it's new music, it's gonna distract you. If you have to pick what songs are playing, it's gonna distract you. If it's something you really like, you're gonna start bouncing around to the beat. It's gonna distract you. So that's why I pick something that I know, that I like, and that's pretty similar as far as the beat pattern.
Yeah,
and that I found that it helps me a lot. I've tried everything there is. So I do that when I really want to focus. Otherwise, when I'm just kind of working it, on and off, I'll do Songza, and at the same time I'll hear some new artists, and I've already found a bunch of new artists through Songza. So I thought it's kind of like the new Pandora.
Interesting. I had another question for Rob, but on that topic, you definitely hinted at automation and how important automation is. Rob, it seems like you are a systems thinker, which systems inherently do have levels of automation. But what areas, what have you automated in your life, or what areas are you working on? Talk about automation. I don't have a specific question about it.
No, it's cool.
I was thinking of one. I was stalling, and I was just talk about automation.
Nah, just run with it, man. Look, my favorite story, man, about automation was so when I worked in this media company, right? I started off as a junior designer, and maybe it was meant to be a 6-month contract. Started around month 4. They were like, "Hey, do you want to go to midweight designer?" I did that, and then maybe 3 months later, I got into a fight with my managing director, threw a whiteboard marker at his head, told him he was wasting my time. And I was like, man, this just isn't working. We need to sort this out. So I got another promotion after that to be their digital producer, right? So
you throw the mark. So this is this just proves that having balls in life is very important. So you stood your ground, you threw the marker at him, and then down the line you get a promotion. That's enough said right there.
Yeah, pretty much 2 days later, it kind of all went to forward. There was a big question before they offered it or it said anything. They're so what happened on Wednesday? Why did that happen? What would you have done differently? What would you like to happen? Really drawing it out. Is he crazy? Or was it a legitimate, he knew what he was talking about? But so anyway, I got this job, this new role. And the first thing I did was I restructured all the systems about how the creative department that I was in worked with the sales team and then all of our media clients. So we're in online advertising, and it was just it was a real sales focused organization, which is fine. That's how the money comes in. But what wasn't fine was how much the sales team was being used for non-sales stuff. So we'd have a job come in, sales guy would get sold in, and then the sales guy would be the intermediary for every piece of communication that went on for the rest of the job. And it took forever. It could take like 4 or 5 weeks to get something done. And by the time I was done, like when I left, we had the same system set up for us, dealing with Europe, dealing with America, dealing with Israel. And what we would do was we could turn most units around in 10 working days, if not less, if we needed to. I had hourly budgets assigned for each unit that we'd build. Like, the whole thing was automated and systemized to the point where my computer would turn on in the morning and send out a daily email to the team. At the end of each day, my computer would send out an email and say to everyone, don't forget to don't forget to log your hours for the jobs you worked on today. I had
just an audit. You said an automatic. It's an automated email that goes out.
Yeah.
Did you use a service for this, or did you code it?
No, automated for Mac.
Gotcha.
Just really simple drag and drop. I did have to Google how to do it, but it's 2 minutes to set up. And then after that, all it was all my, because I did, you're doing the same thing over and over again. Executing. You're executing an operating procedure all the time in a workplace. So I just created templates for everything. Every email that I sent out had a template. Every phone call that I went through had a template. Everything was top to bottom templated, to the point where realistically, like, there were a couple of days where I woke up and I was like, I'm on top of my work. Everything's fine. I'm just not going in today. So I'd send an email to the CD and say, hey man, I'm not coming in today, but I'll check my email throughout the day. And I could sit on the couch with my roommate, play Xbox for the better part of 8 hours, check my email twice within it, and everything would be running just as smooth as if I was there. And I feel all right telling that dirty little secret now, because that was like 2 years ago. It's fine.
Yeah. So you basically, I think, so there's aspects of automation here. We have systems thinking going on, and we're also talking about leverage, which are kind of like, if you're looking to clone yourself and you don't have the money, this is the best way to do that right now. Set up systems, leverage, automate yourself. So then basically you can be playing Xbox while you're also doing something else. So you know what? Tell people right now, you're having a Skype conversation with us. What else are you also doing? What's running in the background here of your system?
Right now, nothing. Funnily enough, is running, but it's
no. I mean, you have websites
people,
out there. You're providing value. You have people.
Okay.
That's right.
Gotcha.
That's what I'm
actually, tell us about, because I was talking with Rob a little bit earlier. So tell us about your current project. We haven't really touched on that much yet. You and your wife just recently moved from Sydney to Thailand, and you're focusing on building a business with a few separate parts based on fitness and health. So how are you doing that, and what's your goal for that?
Yeah, okay. Look, I can answer both questions at the same time. So to understand how we got here, you got to understand where I came from. Basically, man, like, my first foray into selling online was education stuff, as in with ADHD. Learned all about like delivery systems, content delivery systems, payment processing, the basic stuff, and also what a pain in the ass it is to try and set your own up when there's stuff like, digital delivery pass, ClickBank, all those guys are already out there. Don't break your balls until you have to. So we used that, and I kept on doing that. And when I started doing consulting, one of the clients I work with is a gym back in Sydney, a CrossFit gym. Absolutely awesome gym. So we've done a whole bunch of stuff there as well. Like, we're talking like landing pages for courses, for products, for memberships, free trials, like the whole sales funnel. So all those things that I've already built are still running, right? And it's like that classic thing. Once the system's set up, you are just focusing on either improving that system, testing that system, or building a new one. So with the new company, or the new brands, new products, what we're doing is we've got two major ones up front. We've got the Muscle Maxims and we've got Fierce for Life. So the Muscle Maxims is one that's still kind of being tested quietly, not promoting it. We've only had, I think it's 14 people go through the program, which is the 90 days of growth. I basically built that out of, A, it's what I would respond to, and B, when you're just like, when you're thin and when you've never really hit the gym before and you don't know where to start, it's a real challenge. It's the motivation is a big thing. You're learning a whole new area, and because there's so much bro science, which can be correct, actual science, then like physiology and all this stuff, and everyone's got an opinion, it's really hard to just go, right, that's it. This is the course I'm staying, and to force yourself to do it. So the 90 days of growth is an auto-delivered system. It's an email every day for 95 days, which teaches you in the first 5 days what you need and how to get set up. And then the remaining 90 days are a mix of, here's the workout you need to do today, here's some motivation for today, here's some inspiration, here's something to think about, here's something to push you, stuff like that.
And so is this all text delivery, or do you have videos and audios with the workouts and the motivation?
Yeah, like there's a couple of videos, there's a couple of links, but mainly text. And the idea behind it was, and to be fair, I've noticed this a little different now in Chiang Mai, but in Sydney, man, like the moment you wake up, that's it, you're on for the day. Like if you haven't checked your Facebook, your Twitter, your Instagram, or your email within the first 30 minutes of waking up, you're probably an anomaly or you don't have internet. So it's just the basics of it. So when I built it under the understanding that, like, I was going to the gym around 6 in the morning each morning. So I'd wake up and I'd check my email just after I'd gotten ready, while I was heading out to go to the gym. I'd check my email. Right. And I knew that if there was an email that said, Rob, here are your growth actions for today. Here's what you got to do. I could look at that and go, right, today is workout A, and make sure I drink water and take my vitamin D or get it in the sun. Done. Easy. So using distributed learning, it breaks down 2 parts. First of all, the whole process. So it just makes it really easy to digest. And secondly, it means that you're never dealing with more information than you need. So I introduce you to the top level concept, right, and then all the way down, I'm just giving you those little chunks along the way.
Right. Gotcha. So you give it to people in like a in a sparsed or parsed rather in a broken down fashion. So you want to learn enough that you need to learn so that you can get out there and take action and start working out.
Yeah, and also understand, like, I think this is the big part was, most often distributed learning is developed without like a clear endpoint, but by saying you're going to do this for 90 days. And here's what the whole 90 days looks like from a real top level perspective. And then all the way down, here's what it looks like. Bang. Just made it really easy.
So what are the details around the course? Like within 90 days, what happens, X, Y, and Z?
Yeah, X, Y, and Z. So it's 90 days of growth built around, it's a hypertrophy and strength training program. So anyone who follows the course and follows the nutrition side of it and the weight gain side of it, as well as the actual gym side of it, you will gain muscle. You'll gain serious muscle. You won't put on a lot of body fat. And on top of that, like the hidden benefits are you will become more confident. Your posture will get better. Your confidence in terms of dealing with other people, as well as on your own stuff, will be better. And you'll also be introduced to a huge series of resources that improve your mindset as well. So we're talking like, I introduced classic books that I loved, like the 90 Days of Growth, Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, right, meditation tapes, which I use. We've got social conditioning stuff. Then introducing them just to other things like Atlas Shrugged, one of my favorite books, pretty hard to get through for some people. Yeah. So there's links to
I've owned that thing for years, and I've touched it. I've tried to read it. I've put it in my ear. But every time I talk to more interesting people that recommend this book, I'm just like, damn it, I'll get to it. All right, I will.
Same way.
Ayn Rand, like the trick with Ayn Rand I found is, like, there's 2 things. First of all, when you finish reading Atlas Shrugged, you're going to be an asshole for 6 weeks. It's just a rule. Like, it's almost like a rule of thumb. Anyone who reads it, you're a prick for 6 weeks. But for all of her books, what I found really easy is, like, I kind of skim them, to be honest. Anytime there's a giant wall of text, I found that I could read like the top part and the bottom part, and the other stuff was her just repeating herself verbatim. She had a very defined message. She had a very clear message, and she was not pulling any punches. But unfortunately, not pulling any punches added an extra couple of 100 pages to her books. So if you just read the outside, man, you'll get the story, you'll get the moral, you get the really important stuff, and you get it without dying. Simply.
Interesting.
So definitely. That's it. Pick it up, Ayn Rand. I have no idea how we got to Ayn Rand though from muscles.
Yeah, but no, I mean it's interesting stuff because people who hear you and hear people like you or want to do some of these things that you've done. So in a short amount of time, I think you sharing some other bigger pools of information and resources and other places that people can learn either from you or learn what you have learned is, I think it's helping people out. And, Think and Grow Rich is a solid book that I try to revisit every few years. I just listened to it again on audiobook probably about 6 months ago and was like, the hell this is. I don't remember reading this the first time around, but I remember the first time I read it, I was like, this book is the greatest book, So
Yes.
what other kind of staples or influential? And looking at the clock, we probably got about 3 minutes before we got to close out. But tell us real quick if you have like any other book recommendations, documentary recommendations, that resources out there.
Yeah, okay. It's two sides. So first of all, each of these books has influenced me for a certain outcome, right? And I'll tell you how it's applied to my life. I hate when someone gives you a book recommendation and doesn't tell you why they recommend it. So one of the big ones was Predictable Irrationality, and that's written by a behavioral economist called Dan Ariely. It is incredible. It first influenced how I sold, and then it influenced how I approach and consider so many things. More importantly, with Fierce for Life. So that's the brand that we've built for women, fierceforlife.com. Predictable Irrationality really forced me to think about, what are they going to respond to? Like, what do they really want? And how they're going to react to like those sort of hidden signals in communication. Like if your friend's doing this, like the social proof idea put forward by Robert Cialdini in Influence, is that going to be true or is it going to be false? At what end stage, after how many participants does it become true or false? So that was huge. And it also taught me about one of my favorite experiments in it is the idea of positioning options. So he talks about if you're a real estate agent, and you'll probably be really familiar with this one, Matty. If you're a real estate agent and you want to sell a certain house, let's say it's a modern home, you will take someone who's interested in buying to a bungalow, an okay modern home, and then an amazing steal of a deal modern home. And you do that so that they go, well, I feel like I've got three options, but the bungalow isn't able to be compared to the two modern homes. So it's immediately mentally out of the running. And then you've got like an okay modern home and a really good one. So the okay modern home gets killed and you just keep that, that last one, which is the really good modern home. And it's incredible, like it works all the time. I think, I'd say for myself, at least it has like a 9% success rate. That it's not that you have a bad offering. It's just that the way that you're showing them is incorrect. It's not as effective as it could be. So that was a really good one. Next book, 48 Laws of Power, Robert Greene, awesome book. I think as far as I'm concerned, if Jay-Z can recommend it in a song, I can recommend it on his podcast. It's awesome.
I've read Mastery and The 50th Law, and Robert Greene to me is a super fascinating guy. I think I haven't read 48 Laws. I own it, but
oh man, okay.
Good stuff.
I think Mastery was good. 50th Law was really interesting, but 48 Laws of Power, like that to me is my favorite of all of these books. Like The Art of Seduction, 33 Strategies of War, 50th Law, Mastery, all great books, but 48 Laws of Power just, I don't know, like it set the bar for me. That was the first one I read, set the bar, the stories were
you're
great.
well read. You've read all Robert Greene's material.
That is correct. I love reading them. My Kindle at the moment has something like 100 books on it. And then I think of those, I've probably got to read like 5 to 10. And I've got another 5 to 10 books, which I'm stopping myself from buying until I read those.
That's the problem.
It becomes overwhelming.
If you're out there and you're listening or watching us and you do nothing but one thing, read more books.
Yeah. 100%, man.
I got 40 on my bookshelf I've got to read, and then another 10 on my Kindle.
Yeah, when we moved, I didn't realize how upset I would be. And my wife used to work in publishing before working on Fierce for Life and the Simple Health Company with me, and a huge collection of physical books. Loves physical books, and I was like, yeah, they're cool. They look nice. Like when I used to do all my calls, I used to have the library behind me, like just this shelves of books. I looked really bad. Exactly. I was like, well read, but. The worst part was I didn't realize this, and the other night I was sitting out in the balcony at our apartment just chilling out, reading one of the books, and I was like, man, I've been looking at screens literally all day. Like it was during that week where I was doing the Only Bodyweight stuff. And I was looking at it all day, and I was like, I would just kill for a nice, thick paperback book that I could just draw on with a pen, just ruin the book, but I could just, it would have killed me. So books, yeah, highly underutilized, man.
Definitely.
And I guess, look, a third book, because I did say that I'd give you guys three, was, I was going to tell you a different one, but I'd say Ender's Game, actually, by Orson Scott Card.
What's the first word?
Ender, E-N-D-E-R. So Enders, as in the name Ender, Game. And, man, I picked it up maybe a year and a half ago. And it's just a phenomenal story, man. They're making it into a movie. So if you think about being lazy now that I've mentioned that and just seeing the movie, read the book first. Loved it. It's
classic science fiction fantasy. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So well done.
What is
the ending?
What has 48 Laws of? Because you recommended that you like to give reasons for the books. What did you get?
Yeah.
What are some few? I mean, there's a lot of stuff I think you can get out of any of Robert Greene's material. But what did you get out of 48 Laws?
48 Laws of Power, man, was two things. One was to, even if you don't want to acknowledge that the games are being played around you, just accept that they are. Like, even if you don't like it, you have to face it. There is a certain reality where that's happening. And, on top of that, like, shut up. Sometimes it's better just to shut up and
learn.
The
timing on that was great.
But yeah, that's like a big one was... For me, who's learning to shut up.
I've been working on that one myself. I tend to be a talker.
Look, man, likewise. But realizing though when you need to be quiet, and look, it's sort of this thing that I get caught up in. It's really cool to talk about things like the technology and like, hey, I use this really cool CSS trick, or I use this really cool tactic in my life, or whatever. And it's really like it's so easy to get caught up. I like to call it mental masturbation, man. Like it's total brain porn, but it doesn't matter. Like what ultimately is the most important part is that you're getting something done. So 48 Laws of Power is really good in seeing it as a vehicle to get that done.
That's awesome.
And Ender's Game, yeah, look, solid read, and it just, it's the same message via another medium. Give it a read, and you'll see what I mean.
Cool. Looking at the time, how much do we have left?
Maybe we've got about 45 seconds of best. So
Rob, give us some URLs. Tell us what you're working on. We'll link to it, but just a quick overview of anything you want anybody to check out.
Yeah, for sure. So we've got www.fierceforlife.com, which is aimed at women. So girls, if you are 25, give or take, you had fun with the binge drinking lifestyle, and look, let's be fair, we all had fun with it. But now what you want to do is you actually really want to start building a body that's a better of an ally, one that, maybe you're already doing this, maybe you've already started on the chicken salad road, but you want to be on the journey with other people, check it out. TheMuscleMaxims.com will be launching in a while, so you won't expect to see any access. And otherwise, look, if anyone's got any questions, you can grab me on Twitter at Rob Hanley, ROBHANLY, and I'm happy to hit you up.
Awesome, man. Good stuff, Rob. I think you are one fascinating dude that's got. We could probably go for another 2 hours here with just stories and fascinating stuff. So, yeah, guys, check him out. Check Rob over at Twitter. We'll have everything linked up below. Scott, you want to add anything? Rob, you guys want to add anything else?
That's it. Thanks a lot, Rob, for coming on.
Yeah, and guys, thanks for having me. As everyone on this call might know, I want to get a little more experience at talking to people over the interwebs. So this has worked out real well for me.
Awesome, man. Hey, dude, keep rocking. You're up to some really great stuff. I think you're one of these people that are out here, making a difference. You walk the walk. You're doing good stuff. So keep it up, man. Quite inspiring.
Much to appreciate, guys. All right, and you guys I know it's evening there now, so have a fantastic night, yeah?
And have a good day.
All right, fellas. Guys. Thanks for listening, guys. Talk to you soon.
See ya.